Well, good afternoon, everybody. It would seem that I'm locked out of my Chromebook because I have tried too many times. So that's a part of a lesson in the secret story. I was trying to get a subscribe link on one of my YouTube channels. I have the subscribe button, but not the link. If you don't know what that is, the subscribe button is the tiny little thing that appears, tells you to subscribe. You can subscribe on that as well, but it points you to a longer subscribe notification underneath it. So you have two places where you can subscribe. So you can still subscribe on that channel. The issue is you can't subscribe underneath it, which is where most people look when they're trying to subscribe to a YouTube channel, video or channel. So anyway, I can't put it there, but I've got it on my other two YouTube accounts. So you should be able to subscribe to all three. You just won't see the usual subscribe link down at the bottom, which has the button on it, until I can get back into my Chromebook. And I might not be able to do that for a couple of days. I'll keep trying, but it says I have to use someone else's phone number. I don't like to do that unless I can get their permission, which I'm sure I can, but it's getting kind of late, supper time for a lot of people, so I don't want to annoy them. So let's continue on with the secret story. Currently, I have difficulty remembering. It's probably because of the medication that the doctors have me on. But so I'm going to try to start back at the beginning. So here we go. I was born on July the 20th in the year 1963. I was born into a family which had, on my mother's side, was middle class to lower middle class, I think is the way you would describe them. My grandfather on my mother's side told me one time that the best Christmas present that he ever got was a piece of rope so that they could hang it from a tree and swing. And there were like 12, I think up to 18, somewhere in that number of children in that family. And they would swing over a creek or whatever and jump into the creek. And so that piece of rope was the best Christmas present that they got during the Depression. Now, he would go on to become an absolute hero. I mean, there's no question that my grandfather on my mother's side was a hero. He fought against the Nazis during World War II. If I understand everything correctly about him, he was a part of the invasion force that would have come up through Sicily into Italy and then eventually end up in France. And I've been told that when he found out about my mother's birth, that he was in France and at the time, and he and his comrades, I don't know if they stole it or whatever. They probably did steal it because that would not have been unusual back in those days. And they cooked the chicken, and that was his way of celebrating my mother's birth. There was no champagne to pop, so they cooked a chicken and had that for their celebration of my mom's birth. Now, on my dad's side, it's kind of a little bit of a different story. My grandfather on my dad's side was also a hero. Now, he didn't fight in World War II, but he was a member of the, I'm not quite sure, but it was the Marines, Special Forces, if I remember correctly. He was given a waiver during World War II. I don't know whether during World War II, I don't know whether he asked for it or they just gave it to him. And he served as a two-term solicitor, a two-term senator, not in Washington, but state senator, and eventually wound up becoming city judge. So he also was a hero, but just in a different kind of way. He and my grandmother were my grandmother especially were what I would call, she was a debutante. Um, she was born in 1902 and to a family that was fairly well to do. And both she and my grandfather um, survived World War II in very special circumstances. Um, Now, I'm not sure what they owned at the time, but I know that when they built their home on our farm in Sandy Run, she had Persian rugs and carpets, I guess I should say. That house had one, two, three, four bedrooms. One of them was for the maid, Julia. At that time, that was not unusual. We were just coming out of segregation, and my grandparents. Now, my grandmother was saddened by segregation, as I understand it. My grandfather was not, but he wasn't a member of the Klan or anything like that. He just believed, as most of the Southerners did at that time, that segregation was the right thing to have, separate but equal, is what they said. If you've ever watched the movie The Help, I think that is probably a close representation of what the South was like. A lot of people felt that segregation was the right thing to do, and a lot of people felt like it was the wrong thing to do. Most of the time, when movies portray the South during segregation, they portray the South as everybody was for slavery and everybody was for segregation, but that just simply isn't accurate. If you watch the television series North and South, it's a pretty accurate representation of what both sides went through during that time. So anyway, excuse me, I have a case of bronchitis. I also need to say that I am permanently disabled. I'll never be able to work again, but I can talk, and as you can probably tell, I talk a lot. So, and I like to talk. That's a good thing. So I've decided that my talking might be made into a book. So if you want to buy the book or buy the rights to the book, I'll give you that permission to go ahead and do that, especially for those who are permanently disabled and need something to occupy their time, like a book or a movie or a chair, something like that. So as I continue with the secret story, I would also like to tell you that during those years on both sides, both began to gain more items that they loved. Now, my grandparents on my mom's side, they lived in an extremely small house. Extremely small. I don't know the dimensions, but it was a very small house. And they had 4 daughters, and they had to raise them in that small house. And they were typical girls. They, I think, enjoyed playing jokes on each other and things like that. Now, on my dad's side, they had 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. And I am the son of the youngest child. My father was born with a degenerative heart disease, and he had a couple of heart attacks before he passed away in 1993. He mainly just simply went to sleep. So he didn't have any pain or anything like that have ever been told about. He was just rushed to the hospital where the doctors pronounced him dead on arrival. And my brother has told me that he just simply went to sleep. So my dad passed away that way. my grandfather on the other side of the family, he passed away because he had so many heart attacks. We lost count of the number of heart attacks that he had had. And so he passed away with the family, including myself, all around him, singing. Now, I had to leave because I had a job, and they were calling me back at that time, and the rest of the family stayed around until he passed away, which was only a couple of minutes, maybe an hour or two that he passed away. My grandmother on my mother's side of the family, she was a smoker, but what caused her difficulty was not smoking. It played a part in it, but she had inhaled some of the meat from the A&P in West Columbia, South Carolina. And that is what caused her to have the most difficulty with her breathing. And she had an oxygen tank that she had to carry around with her. And she went. I mean, that woman went. She didn't let anything stop her. She went to church, she's, home, just riding around anywhere and everywhere that she wanted to. And when she passed away, again, it was with family around. I wasn't there. I was actually in Virginia, and my youngest daughter was maybe a couple months old. She wasn't walking yet, but I had woke up, and I went around and got the call from my cousin, and I knew immediately, what had happened, and I didn't cry at that time, but we came home for the funeral, and myself and two other of my cousins sang, but I was the only one that broke down and started crying then. And my other two cousins were able to hold themselves together, beautifully sung. They are extremely talented. People tell me that I as well am extremely talented with my singing abilities. The only issue with that at this time is that I have bronchitis and I'm not able to sing. But the voice is coming back. So, slowly but surely it's coming back. So if you like singing, I can help you out with that as well. At the current time, we are, and this is also going to be a part of the Secret Story. We're currently raising funds for a school that is in need of things like pencils, erasers, pens, notepads, this kind of thing. I mean, you can see the writing is all scribbled, but I don't have very good writing. And then also in movies, this one is about Abraham Lincoln. I'll put it on YouTube at some point. You guys can buy it or rent it and keep it forever. And if you're a teacher, it may help you to teach students about Abraham Lincoln. Now, my mother passed away about 3 years ago, and I didn't mourn her at the time. It's only been recently that I have been able to mourn my own mother's death, and that's very sad. But I have mourned her passing. So, but I'm glad and I'm happy for all four of my grandparents, because I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that they are saved and they are in heaven. And when I pass away, whenever that day comes, I will join them in heaven, and we will sing praises to the Father until the end of time. I'll end this part of the secret message story now, and a little bit of a joke there, a trick there, because I need for you to go, if you like books or need books or a loved one, especially a loved one who's in a care facility, then I give you the rights to buy the book and keep it for permanently disabled people like myself. I've had a stroke, I've had a heart attack, I live with pain in my back. And the way that I do it is with medication by stimulating my back. I have a stimulator. I'm not going to show it to you in this video. I think I've shown it in the past, and I have a difficulty with writing things. But I'll try to write down. I will write down, but I'm not sure that anybody will be able to understand it. So I'll probably have to watch the videos over and over and over again, and you might as well. But that's just simply because I don't know, I have good handwriting. I think I'll end this part of it, of the secret story, with this. I love, as most people do, Christmas. And I have a Christmas tree up. I'm not going to show it to you at this time, but I have a Christmas tree that my youngest daughter put up. It's decorated and it lights up halfway. Not that tall, maybe about 2 feet, 3 feet. But it's here in what I call my office or man cave. And so I enjoy that tiny Christmas tree. I have my mom's Bible, her hat, my grandfather's gavel, his case that he uses to carry his paperwork in. The house that they lived in burned down, by the way, my grandparents on Daddy's side. So I hope that you all have a great rest of your evening. I know that I certainly will. If I happen to pass away in my sleep, that's what everyone wants. So I'll ask somebody to continue the secret story, and hopefully they will. But if they don't, then it'll be a short secret story, and you will have a chance to know at least this much about myself and the rest of my family. The only other thing that I want to tell you is that I struggled with my identity. I struggled with, that sounded, it almost sounded like somebody being buzzed on one of those shows to go down into a mud pit or whatever, like Big Brother. But I struggled with my identity, that maybe I was gay through most of my life. And to this day, I still struggle, but it's not as difficult a struggle as it used to be. I love my wife and I love my children, and one of them is gay, and I love them nonetheless. I will until the day I die. The secret story will tell the story of my struggle as well as hers and the other children that I have that are straight. Anyway, that's it. Have a great rest of your evening, and know that God loves you despite the circumstances in your life. One last thing I'll tell you. My mother sent me a message, which is kind of garbled up, on Facebook. And I had that. I put it under one of my videos, but I can't find it. So anyway, that's a part of my memory issues. But I'll try to find it. But even if I don't, you can start reading or listening to this part of the secret story. We'll call it the first chapter. Okay? The first chapter of the story of my life and my family's lives. Again, God bless you. Have a good evening. And take care of yourself. Remember to mask up. I always do.